Chapter 30 Devil's Deal. Wind. That's what I hear. Is this heaven? Have I really died? I moved my fingers, only slightly, to be sure that I was still human. I breathed in deeply, but I did not make a noise. There's still a chance Ian's trying to see if I died. Maybe if I just stay still for a moment, he won't be able to tell. Typing entered my hearing, but it sounds like it's a distance away. A fan rotated, hitting me with a cool breeze of air from time to time. Okay, I don't think they have any fans in heaven, so I'm gonna assume that I'm alive. Slowly but surely, my senses began to come back. It's hot in here. It's like a sticky heat, kind of like on a hot summer's day, when Dad refuses to turn on the air conditioning. Wait. I remember him. I remember my dad, and my house, and I remember everything. Okay, where am I? How'd I get back my memories? I mean, did it happen when I passed out? Oh God, was I shot? Ian shot me after I spared him, that prick. So if I got shot, does that mean the cell phone killer killed me? I need to open my eyes. I crinkled my eyelids in a painfully slow manner as my world changed from one of black to one of color. Light strung across the ceiling of what appeared to be a large shed. No, this is too big to be a shed. Maybe a storage house? It's definitely made out of wood and rotting wood at that. I blinked slowly as my vision cleared. A mask covered my nose and lips, with oxygen flowing from the clear covering that was strapped to my face. Confusion took over as I tried to raise my left arm. Is that a needle? I swallowed slowly. Yup, that's a needle in my arm. It seems to be attached to a bag, strung to my left, and with a clear liquid inside of it. What's going on here? Where am I? I rose up slightly to feel pain in my stomach. I looked down to see that I wasn't wearing a shirt. My body looked bony and paler than I had remembered. How long have I been knocked out? A small tube, attached to another needle, lay poking into my stomach. What the? My attention turned up to 12 hospital beds, lay pressed against the walls of the storage house, all lined with teens. Alice, Eve, Hal, Ian, Olive, Maria, Rachel, Alex, Ian, Dan, Leo, Viola. All of them are here. All of the players, all of my friends are here. Medical machines surrounded the kids, as nothing moved. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a dream. It happened. I awoke in the real world. I looked over to Eve, who lay across the room. Her pink hair was long with a sickly brown coloring that seemed nearly dead. Her body was snow white, as her skin lay tightly against her bones. She had even more equipment around her than the rest of us. I looked over at Hal, who lay 3 beds down from me. His hair was long, covering his eyes, which held a thin, patchy beard. He looked almost like a hobo. He looked more like a body than someone who was alive. My eyes went to Alice, who lay beside Eve. She looked nearly the same as in my memories. Right next to her was a broken door. Lights flashed from several TV screens, changing from scene to scene with a man sitting behind the lights. I could see his slightly longer dark hair across his neck, meeting his black t-shirt. Is that him? Is that the cell phone killer? I don't exactly remember what he looked like when I saw him. That's right. When he took me, he wasn't wearing a mask, was he? But what did his face look like? I took a picture on my phone, didn't I? Right before I was knocked out. I wanted to make sure that if I died at least, the police could have a picture of who he was. But why can't I remember his face? It doesn't matter. All I need to worry about is getting out of here. I kept my eyes locked on the cracked door as I worked with a near perfect silence. I pulled the needle from my forearm. I bit my lips to prevent the yelling. I moved my right arm to see that I could indeed move it. I guess injuries from the game and the outside world are different. I pulled the needle from my stomach with a sharp pain. I held my breath to avoid making any sound. I can't afford to make any mistakes here. I removed the mask, the several other wires and tubes from my body, and turned off the sound of the heart meter before anything. I need to get out of here, and to a phone, or to the police, but I have no idea where I even am. I turned my body, and faced the fan that held open a door to a night world of unknown. I tried to stand, only to fall to the floor. I looked back at the cracked door, with horror and fear that he had heard me. No, you can get out. Still. I crawled across the smooth concrete, out of the light building into the outside. It was much cooler than in there. I looked across my surroundings. It's a forest of some kind. The trees towered high above me, against the night sky lit with stars, but no moon. I pulled myself to my feet, using the storage house. From the outside it looks more like a barn. I walked across the side to the opposite wall, where garbage cans gathered. I ducked behind the trash, watching the entrance that I had escaped from. A shadow appeared quickly in the light of the doorway. The shadow's head searched quickly around the inside of the barn, before running out into the night. A man stood, searching frantically with a flashlight in one hand and a gun in the other. He wore a long brown trench coat that seemed tattered at the end, meeting a pair of dark brown combat boots and black jeans that hugged tightly to his skin. He buttoned the first two hooks on the coat, hiding his black shirt. He turned nearly to face me, but not exactly. He wore a gas mask, with one of the eye lenses cracked, with a tan hat that looked as if it belonged to a bounty hunter from the movies. The man cursed, hastily running in the opposite direction from me. Perfect. I began to stumble away from where the man ran to, using trees to support me. I moved slowly, but at least I'm getting away from here. I think I'm going downhill. My breath is tired and rapid, both from my fear and from pure exhaustion. This is a lot harder than I ever thought it would be. My vision blurred, but only for a moment. I blinked quickly and looked around. Where am I? What am I doing here? Where's Alice and Ian? No, focus! You're trying to get away from the killer. I shook my head, continuing to walk down the never-ending path. I must have been walking for hours, and still the scenery remains the same. Trees, trees, and more trees. Can I please see something other than trees? My question was answered, as lights began to appear over the horizon. Is that it? It looks like a town. A small town sat at the bottom of this wooden prison. Thrill filled me as a smile, bigger than a child's on Christmas, formed on my lips. I quickened my pace as quickly as I could, which wasn't much faster than what I was already going. It was a few hours until I finally reached the entrance to the town. Gold and red chased away the shadows as the sunlight came my way. The closest building seemed to be a diner, maybe a truck stop. 2 large trucks were parked in the lot, along with a few random cars. People, I smiled, limping into the restaurant. An elderly woman stood behind the counter, wearing a white and red uniform with a name tag stating Ruth. She was getting the order of a heavily bearded guy, maybe around 40. Another man sat next to him, laughing at what the other was saying. He seemed younger, maybe early 30s, with a hat concealing his lack of hair. "Help!" I called, pushing the glass door open and falling to the wooden floor. I'm so tired, but I can finally relax. I survived. I survived the game, and now I can tell police and free everyone. The nightmare's over, isn't it? "Oh my goodness," Ruth called. "Mike, Joey, help him up." Both men nodded, getting up from their seats to help me. I let them drag me up to a booth seat that held a wash bin, filled with dirty dishes. "Call Officer Marley," Ruth ordered, much like Hal would. Joey, or who I assumed was Joey, ran over to the landline phone. The older man awaited Ruth's orders. I guess she's the team leader. "Son, what happened?" the woman asked, bringing me a glass of water. Weakly, I took the glass from her hands, as my body shook. I drank the cool water without a second thought. I coughed several times as my body rejected the liquid. I guess I haven't actually drank anything in over a month. Cell phone killer, I stuttered, unsure of what to say. "You're one of the kids who was taken by the cell phone killer?" Mike questioned in shock. I nodded, taking a small sip of the water in hopes to not choke again. I pointed up to where I had come from. The hill? Up the hill? Mike spoke for me. I nodded again. An officer walked through the front doors with a stern expression. He had a big belly and no hair, except a large bushy mustache with a gray color to show his age. What seems to be the issue, Ruth? The officer asked. Oh, Tom, this boy here says he was one of the kids on the news that were taken by the cell phone killer, Ruth explained. Want to tell us how you got out, John? Tom questioned. Did you call me John? I asked, confused. My attention turned to the small TV in the corner of the diner. Alice was yelling at Dan on an abandoned highway. My eyes widened, realizing what was going on. The game is a television show to them. They're all in on this. They're all the killer. I yelled, breaking the glass I had against the table. I pointed the shards towards them in a protective way. Tom smirked, talking into his walkie-talkie. We found him. Terror filled me as my body shook, unsure of what had just happened. I held my broken glass with both hands, ready to strike at any moment. I haven't escaped anything, but only sealed my fate. All right now, John, let's get you back to where you belong, Tom stated as if I were a lost child and he was returning me to my mother. It's a shame. You were my favorite character, too, Mike laughed, returning to his seat but still facing me. I'm not a character. I'm a human being, and I'm not going back, I snapped with a crack. All right, son, let's get going now, Tom huffed, walking closer to me until I was trapped in the booth. No, I screamed, stabbing the glass into his neck. The man stepped away with both surprise and awe. His fat belly soon landed against the diner's black and white tiled floor, staining it with fresh blood. I gagged, grabbing a shard from the glass at the table, unwilling to go without a fight. I stood from the booth with a wobble, backing towards the door, with a fear you'd find a trapped animal. Tom, Mike called to receive no reply. Bitch, Mike cursed, walking towards me. I froze. My legs won't listen to my mind. Come on. Walk, run, do something. Mike came closer to me until I was in arm's length. The bigger man held down both of my arms. I squirmed with no give from the man. I began to cry, bite, and kick. Anything I hoped would make him let go of me. No, I'm not going back, I screamed, like a child having a tantrum. Don't be so whiny. Be how you are on TV, Mike sighed. Suddenly, I stopped moving. Anger and shock filled my very being. I can feel my own heat increasing from the doneness. I am not a character on some TV show. I'm fighting for my life. How can you people watch this? I yelled, begging for an answer. 'Cause it's free entertainment, Joey replied. My face turned white, realizing these people didn't have hearts. A bag covered my head, which I think Ruth put over. Mike pulled me from the diner and forced me into a car. I said nothing. I have no idea what to do. I can't die here. I can't. Hey, Mike, right? I shuddered. Did I say you can talk? Mike replied. You said I was your favorite character, right? Well, it would be a shame if I just ended, right? Maybe you could take me somewhere else and just say I escaped. Then you could have me all to yourself, your own personal player. I shivered from my own words. Nice try, blank, he laughed. I couldn't help but cry. That was my last option. I'm really gonna die. I'm really gonna lose the game, and I'm gonna lose at life. I never did anything with my life. Now it's about to end. I'm gonna die. I began to sob harder, uncaring who heard. I began to gasp at my breath and cried even harder. I don't think I've ever cried this hard, or if I had, it wasn't for as good of a reason. Aw, don't do that. The blank doesn't cry, Mike spat in disgust. I could barely form words as I spoke. I'm not the blank. The car stopped, and my sobs increased even more. I can't even think. The total fear within was maddening. Okay, don't tell anyone I'm helping you, got it? I can't just let you go, but I can give you some time, all right? Convince the killer to let you back into the game. I don't know how, but it's your best option, Mike stated, explaining what to do. Why are you even helping me? I asked, calming down slightly. Because I think this whole thing's fucked. Taking kids from their lives for entertainment is messed up, alright? I just can't let everyone else know that or they'll kill me and my family, Mike answered. I can't help but feel bad for him. We're being held captive inside the game, and he's being held out here. We're the same. Mike removed the bag from my head. My eyes reflected in the car mirror, wide and unreal. The gray coloring seemed nearly dead, surrounded by the puffed red of my own fear. I looked at the red-stained bandages, dried with brown of time. Scabs and dried blood paths traveled down the right side of my pale skin, meeting my quivering lips. Is this really me? Mike opened the back door, pulling at my left arm to take me from the car. The sun was fully up now, as dawn had broken. The air was cold and brisk. I shivered slightly, both from the cold and from my own fear. A man walked from the woods, with a slowed and angered movement. I took a step back, meeting my backbone against the frame of the car. I knew my mouth was open as the dry air of the morning rushed through, but I couldn't speak. I could say nor do anything. How am I going to convince this demon to let me back into the game? The cloaked man took hold of my right forearm, pulling me with a great force that seemed almost inhuman. The killer pulled me into the woods that still seemed dark, despite the sunlight that reached the leaves. After a few minutes walking through the forest, he stopped and pushed me to my knees. The earth was mushy, as if it had just rained. A foot pushed against my back. It forced me to stay down, with all four limbs holding me up from the pressure. My eyes stared down, at my hands that mushed in the mud and bits of grass on the forest floor. I could hear the cock of a gun, and everything froze. Something pushed against the back of my head, and I yelped. "Wait!" I screamed in protest. "Don't you want to make your show better?" The pressure lightened up on my back. Don't you like surprises? How much of a twist would it be if I came back? Aren't I people's favorite character? I choked, struggling to keep my cool. The pressure increased again, as he denied my request. "Wait, you're God, right? Or at least in that world. We question your power in there. We don't believe in you. Why not make us believe in you? What better way than bring the dead back to life?" I offered. "Let me go back, and I'll do whatever you want. The players already think I'm working with you anyway." I'm literally making the devil's deal right now. There was a long pause, with no movement from either of us. The only audible noise was my chilled breath against the natural sound of the forest. The nose of the gun left my head, as the loud bang of a fire echoed through the woods. I screamed, out of instinct. The pressure left my back. I turned up quickly to see the cell phone killer, with gun facing directly up into the sky. Does this mean he accepts? I stood, with a tightness in my chest, and held back my fear. I reached out my right arm, to seal our deal. My face turned hard as he took my hand in a shake. "Just tell me what I need to do," I stated, with a coldness that I'd only expect from a blank.